Hello and welcome to Everyone's a Hypocrite, they just don't know it. I'm aJadedGamer, and today I will be hypocritical about intentionally hard games with inbuilt disclaimers. So what do I mean by intentionally hard? Well, it has a few qualifying factors. It may be sold under the assumption it will be hard, or use the words to suggest difficulty in the marketing or the title, such as the Prepare to Die edition of Dark Souls on PC did, when the only truly hard thing about that game was believing how bad the port was on PC. Or maybe the game starts with a disclaimer that spells out in a patronizing way that this game is hard, such as Darkest Dungeon does. Or perhaps there's a sneaky little message added in a later patch to a game, such as Battle Brothers did, that points out that this game is hard for people who can't read before they purchase. So why does this bother me? It's because difficulty is entirely subjective. Let's take the examples listed above, if not only because I have played those games. Darkest Dungeon. Every time this game is loaded up, before anything else can be done, a disclaimer warning players about the difficulty shows up and cannot be dismissed unless clicked away, or waiting 15 plus seconds. Does this need to occur every time the game is loaded? It's not like you can finish this game in a single sitting. It took me over 100 hours to complete the game pre-DLC. So why not move this message to after starting a new game, or allow it to be toggled off in the menu? It's absolutely ridiculous that this pops up at the start every single time. Dark Souls. Sold on its difficulty, this type of game is only difficult once, specifically the first time you experience it. On my second playthrough, I knew everything that was going to happen and found myself bored by the time I got to the Capra Demon, so I stopped playing. On a side note, raising damage taken does not make a game more difficult, and subsequently this occurred to me each of the sequels. Battle Brothers. A game so difficult I could only complete it by save scumming. To my eternal shame, post Warriors of the North DLC, a small message was added to the bottom right corner of the main menu that outlines that this game is indeed difficult. I spent about 10 seconds perplexed by this, as it had been a while since the game was released and this DLC was sold. Why was this added so long after? Don't people read or watch reviews for products they purchase? Do games really need to warn people about the challenge after purchase? Are just some of the questions that went through my mind after seeing this. So let's break down and elaborate on these questions, see if we can find some reason behind it. First up, why was this added? On the GOG store page, it proudly states that this game includes permadeath, when has that never been a mark of difficulty? It also states a dynamic event system, tough decisions, and a complex turn-based combat system. It also suggests that the only way your men can come back from death is as a zombie, which is a clever nod to a game mechanic. So, to me, that seems reasonable for the purchaser to expect the game to be difficult. I don't see how it can really be interpreted any other way. However, it clearly has been, and I can only assume that the developers got a shitload of hate from people who didn't bother to read or look at a review prior to purchase. I heard about this game via a channel called Worth a Buy, run by a man named Mac, and after watching his review I looked at a few others and then the store page prior to purchasing. Gave me all the information I needed to know what I was in for. Alright, let's move on to the next question. Should games need to have a difficulty disclaimer displayed in the game? Battle Brothers and Darkest Dungeon both include an unavoidable difficulty disclaimer in the main menu. Darkest Dungeon makes you click past or wait 15 plus seconds for it to vanish on its own each time the game is loaded up. Battle Brothers has a permanently included message in the bottom right of the main menu. Both state something along the lines of This game is difficult. Things will not always go as planned. Expect losses at some point. Statements that are at the same time vague at best, while also covering everything that could happen within the game. These disclaimers cannot be turned off or avoided, and ended up bothering me to the point where I wrote a script for a video about the subject. First world problems, eh? Both of these games mentioned I've put collectively 200 to 300 hours into. I know what the games are at this point. Why do these disclaimers need to keep showing up? All they do is waste the time of those playing. Lastly, difficulty as a whole. Why are difficult games having such a resurgence of late? The long and short of it is generally assumed to be because Dark Souls. But I feel that is a bit of a cop-out as an answer. When I was growing up, I played a lot of DOS games and early 3D games on PC. The DOS games kicked my ass and still do now. The difficulty of those games was more of a byproduct of the way games were made and could be made in those times. Early 3D games such as King's Quest VIII and Tomb Raider derived most of their difficulty from teething issues that all games experienced at that time, with the addition of another axis, the new idea of the controllable camera. During the mid-noughties, and even up till now, the majority of games, both AAA and otherwise, all seem to collectively agree it was better to just put something out that special gym the bipolar child could complete, because if he couldn't complete it, he wouldn't buy it, and if he didn't buy it, then no one would get paid. This was particularly noticeable in MMOs and first-person shooters, but now a lot of games are being sold on their difficulty, as if it's a reflex to what has happened in the last decade or so. Thus the difficulties being played up in the case of Dark Souls, or exaggerated in Darkest Dungeon, or misunderstood in Battle Brothers. In the next 10 years it will probably swing the other way again and we'll get another slew of special gym approved games. Or maybe we'll just get more games like Tor that feel bipolar in their dynamic difficulty, swinging from, oh you lose now, to have a freebie. I'm aJadedGamer. I do genuinely believe everyone's a hypocrite. Thank you for watching.